Today for Primetime Local News, I'm joined with two researchers from the University of Saskatchewan to talk about their research on the wheat sector. Thank you so much for joining us here today.
Sure, thanks for having us.
Yeah.
First off, do you mind telling us a little bit more about your research and what it's all about?
Are you aware, Nicole, of Fusarium head blight? It's a disease of wheat and barley that's really difficult to control across the prairies.
I can't say that I do know much about it, so do you mind letting us know what that is?
Yeah, it's a disease that affects the plants during flowering of the wheat and the barley crops, and then it affects the kernel development, and it reduces yield is one thing, but it sometimes even more significantly, it reduces quality. So you get toxins formed in the grain, so you can't really market the grain very easily, or it has to be processed before it can be used, like blended off, things like that. But it's become probably the #1 disease of wheat growers and even barley growers across the prairies, I'd say, in most years. So the project that Dr. Wong and I have submitted, first of all, to the Western, WGRF, I always know the acronym, but Western Grain Research Foundation and the Saskatchewan Wheat Development Commission were the two initial funders, and then we were able to match that funding with funding from NSERC, which is the Natural Sciences and Engineering Research Council. And so we've got quite a large project to look at, how can we help plant breeders especially to breed better varieties. So the project is really quite diverse. It's a selection of tools basically, and we're collaborating with the College of Medicine, the College of Engineering, the College of Computer Science. So it's quite a diverse group. And some of the things we're looking at is we found that the disease is usually more of a problem in shorter wheat varieties. And so that growers generally like shorter varieties, especially where they get lots of rain, more moisture. But that tends to be associated with Fusarium susceptibility. So there's some interesting genetics there.
Yeah, so that part is we want to develop a quick and more efficient screening tool to select some resistant lines. So that in synchrotron, they have some high energy equipment to produce the energy, and we look at the X-ray imaging technology. So we want to look at inside the spike, the kernel inside of the spike. So conventionally, if we want to read the disease or Fusarium damage the kernel, we had to manually peel the spikes and take the kernel out and read by our eyes. So that is low efficient and a very time and labor required process. So we hope we can use this high-tech X-ray imaging to develop a fast and more efficient tool to screen the FDK in the future.
So how do you feel that this research will help the agriculture community?
Basically, it's to select resistant varieties. So the plant breeders are always looking for new sources of resistance, and those have to be evaluated. So some of the methods they use are looking at the Fusarium damaged kernels, the FDKs that Dr. Wong mentioned. So as he said, we do that visually. It's time consuming. When you do it all day, you get tired. Your ratings might not be as accurate as the beginning of the day, things like that. So if you can have a computer do it, an imaging system do it, that would really speed up the breeding process, or at least make it much more accurate, so the breeders could select for resistance in the germplasm that they're dealing with, and therefore we'd have resistant varieties hopefully might come out faster, or would improve the efficiency of the process for sure. And then the other part too with the short varieties, we hope that we could have varieties that are shorter, so that growers don't tend to want tall varieties because they fall over, they lodge. So if we can have short varieties and Fusarium resistance, that would be a real benefit to the growers and to the wheat industry. So, the industry itself benefits. If the growers can grow good quality wheat, then the processors have good quality wheat to process. So it benefits the whole chain.
And you've received a few grants over the past few years. So how do you feel that this money will help further your research?
Yeah, the funds, well, it started last year with the Western Grains Research Foundation and Saskatchewan Wheat Development Commission funding. So we've already started a PhD student to work on the project with us. And then we have some technical help as well. So this additional funding from the government will allow us now to hire a postdoctoral fellow. So that's someone who's completed their PhD, but is looking for us, a particular project that they can do in 2 or 3 years. As well as possibly one more master's student in our program. And then in our colleagues programs, like at the College of Medicine and College of Engineering and Computer Science, they will also take on some students to do different parts of the project. They'll work with students to manage some of these aspects we've discussed. And so we'll be training highly qualified personnel, as they say in insert lingo. So it'll benefit students who are the next scientists, the next generation of scientists as well.
Well, thank you so much for joining us here today.
Great, thanks, Nicole. Appreciate
Thank
the
you.
interest.